My sister kicked me out over her husband's lies. Now they're homeless with kids, and I refuse to let them step foot in my home again. Alright, I guess I need to get this off my chest. A few years ago, I was really struggling. I had just finished college, had a not-so-great job at a local insurance company in Denver, and honestly, life wasn't looking too good for me. My older sister, Rebecca, who is 7 years older than me, offered me a place to stay with her and her husband, Derek. At the time, I was super grateful. I mean, who wouldn't be? Rent in Colorado was ridiculously high and I wasn't making enough to even consider living on my own. Rebecca had this beautiful 2-story house in Lakewood with a spare bedroom, and she told me I could stay there as long as I needed until I got back on my feet. It felt like a lifeline, so I moved in with them. It wasn't a permanent solution, but I was trying to get myself together, you know. I didn't want to be a burden or anything, so I made sure I helped out around the house as much as possible. I did the cooking, lots of homemade spaghetti and meatloaf dinners, cleaning, ran errands to Target and King Soopers, all that stuff. I wasn't contributing much financially at first because I could barely afford my own groceries. But I pitched in whenever I could. For example, if I had some extra cash, I'd buy groceries for the house or take care of the little things they needed. I thought it was going pretty well at first. Everything seemed fine. Derek was polite enough, and Rebecca and I have always been close, so it felt like I was in a safe place. Rebecca and I weren't hanging out like best friends every day or anything, but I didn't think there was any problem between us. She never really said much about my living situation, just kind of kept to herself, but I didn't take it personally. She was pregnant at the time with their first child, so I figured she just had her own stuff going on with morning sickness and doctor appointments. But after about 4 months, things started getting weird, like subtle stuff at first. Rebecca would make these little comments like, "Oh, when the baby comes, we're going to need a lot more space," or "I wonder if we should start thinking about how to turn the guest room into a nursery." You know, hints like that. I kind of got the vibe that she wanted me gone, but Derek kept reassuring me, saying, "Don't worry about it, Vera. You can stay as long as you need." I believed him because, well, he seemed genuine. Why would I think otherwise, right? Then the comments got less subtle. Rebecca started complaining more openly, saying things like, "It's going to be really hard having a newborn and a third person in the house." I wasn't trying to overstay my welcome, but at the same time, I didn't have anywhere else to go just yet. I had finally gotten a better job at a marketing firm downtown, but it wasn't like I had enough saved up to just pack my bags and leave right away. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of what would become the most devastating betrayal of my life. One day, things really started to shift. I remember it clear as day. Rebecca was sitting in the living room scrolling through her phone, and I was in the kitchen cleaning up after dinner. Derek wasn't home yet from his job at the construction company, and Rebecca just starts talking to me out of nowhere. She tells me that she's uncomfortable with me living there, that it's affecting her peace of mind and how she doesn't feel safe with some of the people I hang out with. I was like, what people? Because I barely went out, and when I did, it was usually with coworkers from the marketing firm or old friends from Colorado State University. Rebecca goes, "You know, I heard from Derek that some of your friends are involved in stuff like drugs, and I don't want that around my baby." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'm not even close to anyone involved in that kind of stuff. And I told her that, but she just shrugged, like she knew something I didn't. I remember feeling like my stomach dropped because it was so out of left field. But I figured she was just stressed out with the pregnancy and all. I tried to brush it off, but things didn't stop there. After that conversation, Rebecca got colder. She'd give me these looks like I was in her way and barely spoke to me unless it was to drop more passive-aggressive hints about me leaving. I knew something was off, but I didn't want to believe that she'd straight up make things up about me. I mean, it's my sister. What reason would she have to lie? Well, fast forward a couple of weeks and Derek starts acting distant too. It's not like him. So I asked him one night if everything was okay, and he just said, "Rebecca's been really stressed lately." He didn't bring up anything specific, but the vibe was off, like he was hiding something. I didn't push him on it. When Rebecca started acting a bit more distant, I didn't think much of it. I figured she just needed space or was going through her own stuff with the pregnancy hormones. But then she started making these comments, little things that, in hindsight, were probably meant to push me out without actually saying it outright. Like, she'd mention how small the house felt all of a sudden, or how she needed more room for the baby stuff. There was one time she even joked, maybe you'll be moving out before the baby comes, right? And then laughed it off like it was no big deal. I remember laughing with her, but deep down I was like, wait, is she serious? It wasn't just the comments though. She started avoiding me more. If I was in the living room watching Netflix, she'd go upstairs or into another room. I tried to make conversation, ask her about the pregnancy, if she needed anything from the store, and she just brushed me off. I was starting to feel like a ghost in the house. The weird part was that Derek never seemed to notice. He was so wrapped up in preparing for the baby, buying a crib and painting the nursery, that he didn't see what was happening right in front of him. And then came the day Rebecca dropped the bomb that would change everything forever. Then there was the day Rebecca dropped the bomb about me supposedly making moves on Derek. I still can't wrap my head around it. It was a regular Wednesday morning. Derek was at his construction job and I had taken a personal day from work, so I figured I'd do some cleaning around the house, help out since I was staying there for free. Rebecca was sitting in the living room just scrolling through Instagram, not really paying attention to anything. I was in the kitchen wiping down the granite counters when she suddenly called out, "Vera, can I talk to you for a second?" I walked over thinking she needed help with something, but the look on her face was just weird. She didn't seem upset, but there was something off about her expression, like she was about to drop some serious news on me. So, she started fiddling with her phone. "I've noticed that you've been, I don't know how to say this, but you've been acting kind of inappropriate with Derek." I literally froze. I didn't even know what to say at first because it was so out of left field. Like, what? Me being inappropriate with Derek? I laughed thinking she was joking. Wait, what? Inappropriate with Derek? That's crazy, Rebecca. But she wasn't laughing. She just stared at me dead serious. No, I'm not kidding. Derek mentioned it to me too. He said he noticed it a while back. That's when the pit in my stomach dropped. Derek noticed it. What the hell was she even talking about? I had never, and I mean never, thought of Derek that way. He was my sister's husband, for crying out loud. The idea of being inappropriate with him was insane. "Rebecca, I don't know what you're talking about," I said, trying to stay calm. I wouldn't. That's not, but she cut me off. "Look, I'm just telling you what I feel, and honestly, it's making me uncomfortable. I don't think it's a good idea for you to be here anymore, especially with the baby coming." I felt like the room was spinning. I didn't know how to respond. How do you defend yourself against something that never even happened? I wanted to scream, but I just stood there completely blindsided. "Derek said that?" I finally managed to ask. She nodded. But something about the way she did it felt off, like she wasn't telling the whole story, but I didn't know what part of it was missing. The rest of that conversation is kind of a blur. Rebecca kept talking about how it's not personal and it's just for the safety of the family, but all I heard was that she wanted me gone. The whole inappropriate behavior thing was complete nonsense, but I didn't know how to prove it. And the fact that she claimed Derek noticed it, too, that hurt the most. My own sister's husband thought I was crossing lines that I never even approached. It didn't make any sense. After that day, things got real tense in the house. Rebecca stopped talking to me altogether, and Derek acted like everything was fine, but I knew he knew something was up. The worst was yet to come. I tried to talk to Derek about it one night, but he just brushed me off, saying, "Rebecca's been really stressed with the pregnancy. Don't take it personally." Don't take it personally. How could I not take it personally when his wife was accusing me of something so ridiculous? It got worse when Rebecca started telling Derek that I was involved with bad people. She told him that some of my friends were into drugs and that she didn't feel comfortable having me around the baby if I was bringing that kind of influence into their home. I barely even had friends over to their house. I didn't have a social life because I was working at the marketing firm and saving up to move out. But somehow Rebecca had convinced Derek that I was hanging out with sketchy people. I don't know if Derek actually believed her or if he just didn't want to deal with the drama, but he started acting weird around me too. He'd come home from his construction job and barely say a word to me, like I wasn't even there. It was obvious Rebecca had gotten into his head, but every time I tried to bring it up, he'd shut me down. "Just give Rebecca some space," he'd say. "She's going through a lot right now." It didn't matter what I said. Rebecca had already made up her mind, and she was doing everything she could to push me out. And the worst part, she was using Derek to do it. It was like watching someone build a case against you for something you didn't even do, and you're just standing there powerless to stop it. So, it finally happened. I knew it was coming, but when it did, it still hit me like a ton of bricks. Rebecca had been building up to this for weeks, and I guess I was just holding on to hope that Derek would step in and tell her to cut the nonsense. But yeah, that didn't happen. I had just gotten home from work at the marketing firm. Another long day dealing with client campaigns. And all I wanted to do was relax for a bit in my room. I walked in the door and everything seemed quiet. Too quiet, actually. The kind of quiet that makes you feel like something's off, but you can't put your finger on it right away. I headed towards my room and that's when I saw it. All my stuff, my clothes, books, my laptop, random belongings, packed up in cardboard boxes and black trash bags just sitting there in the hallway like garbage waiting to be taken out. I stopped in my tracks. My heart started racing. And for a second, I thought maybe there was some mistake. Maybe Rebecca was doing some weird spring cleaning thing, or I don't know, maybe Derek was rearranging stuff. But deep down I knew that wasn't it. This wasn't some misunderstanding. I walked into the living room and there was Derek sitting on their leather couch with his head in his hands. He didn't look at me at first, didn't say anything either, just sat there in this awkward silence. Rebecca was nowhere to be found, of course, leaving him to do the dirty work. The confrontation that followed would shatter our family forever. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, though I could feel my anger bubbling up. Derek sighed, finally looking up at me with this guilty expression, like he was a little kid who got caught doing something wrong. "Rebecca, she thinks it's time for you to move out," he said. His voice was so quiet, like he was ashamed of even saying it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you serious? You're kicking me out just like that after everything?" He didn't even try to defend himself. He just nodded, looking at the hardwood floor. "It's not like that," he mumbled. "It's just Rebecca's stressed with the pregnancy and she feels uncomfortable with you being here, you know, with everything going on." Everything going on? What did that even mean? I hadn't done anything wrong. I hadn't caused any problems. All I did was live there, help out with groceries and cleaning, and keep to myself as much as possible. And now I was being thrown out because Rebecca felt uncomfortable. It was such nonsense. "So that's it. You're just throwing me out on the street?" I asked, my voice shaking with frustration. "Over some lies Rebecca's been feeding you? I've done nothing but help around here, Derek. You know that." Derek stood up, running a hand through his hair, still avoiding eye contact. "I'm not throwing you on the street," he said. "I'll help you find a place. We can cover your security deposit, maybe even the first month's rent. It's not like we're abandoning you." Not abandoning me. It felt like the exact opposite. I wasn't asking for money. I was asking for some respect, for my own sister's husband to have my back instead of just rolling over because his wife wanted me gone. "Rebecca said I was being inappropriate with you, Derek. She said I was hanging out with drug dealers. You really believe that?" I asked, desperate for some kind of acknowledgement that he knew the truth. He didn't answer right away, and that silence told me everything I needed to know. He either believed her or he was too scared to disagree with her. Either way, I was screwed. After getting kicked out of Rebecca's place, I spent the next few months pretty much in survival mode. I had nowhere to go at first, so I started crashing on friends' couches. You ever feel like you're imposing on people, even when they say it's okay? That's how I felt every single day. I was grateful for my friends from college letting me stay, but I knew deep down I couldn't keep doing it forever. I was just a guest and they had their own lives to live. The hardest part was pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. I didn't want to keep bringing up what happened with Rebecca and Derek. I didn't want people to think I was bitter or stuck on it, but truthfully, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Couch surfing was rough. I couldn't settle anywhere, and I was constantly moving around with all my stuff in boxes and bags. But somehow, it just made me more determined to never depend on anyone else again. It's funny though. You'd think getting thrown out by my own family would have broken me, but somehow it just made me more determined. I decided I wasn't going to rely on anyone else anymore. I was done with people letting me down. Done with feeling like I owed anyone for a roof over my head. So I started working harder, picking up extra hours at the marketing firm whenever I could. I cut back on everything, no new clothes, no going out to restaurants, nothing that wasn't necessary. It was tough, but after about 8 months, I had enough saved up to finally get my own place. It wasn't anything fancy, just a small one-bedroom apartment in Thornton, but it was mine. I remember the first night in my new apartment. I didn't have much, just a mattress on the floor and a couple of boxes of stuff. But it felt like freedom. It was quiet, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't have to worry about being kicked out. I didn't have to walk on eggshells or tiptoe around anyone's moods. Even though I was proud of myself for getting back on my feet, it didn't take away the hurt. I still thought about Rebecca and Derek all the time. How easily they tossed me out when they didn't need me anymore. How Rebecca's lies about me being inappropriate with Derek were enough to convince him to kick me out without even giving me a chance to defend myself. What made it worse was that no one in my family reached out. Not my parents, not my younger brother Austin. It was like I didn't exist anymore. I guess Rebecca told everyone her side of the story and I wasn't part of the picture they cared about. I hadn't spoken to Rebecca in almost 2 years by the time I felt like I was back on my feet. Every now and then, I'd get a text from her or Derek asking how I was doing or checking in, but I never responded. I couldn't. Not after what they put me through. Then one day, I got a call. I was sitting at my kitchen table, working on a client presentation, when my phone started ringing. I glanced at the screen and to my surprise, it was Rebecca. We hadn't spoken in almost 2 years, so seeing her name pop up gave me a weird feeling. Part of me wanted to ignore it, let it go to voicemail, but something told me to pick up, so I did. Hello, I answered, trying to sound neutral, not wanting to show any emotion. There was a pause on the other end, and then Rebecca's voice came through, sounding different. She didn't sound like the confident, put-together older sister I used to know. She sounded desperate. Hey, she said. It's me. Yeah, I know, I replied, not wanting to make this easy for her. Rebecca hesitated, then sighed. Look, I'm just going to cut to the chase. We need help. Derek and we're losing the house. His construction company went under, and we're getting evicted. We've got nowhere else to go. After everything they put me through, it was almost laughable. I could feel my heart rate pick up. I hadn't heard from Rebecca in almost 2 years, and now she was calling because she needed something. After everything they put me through, it was almost laughable. Part of me wanted to hang up right then and there, let them figure it out on their own. So, what do you want from me? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. We were hoping, she paused like she didn't even believe what she was about to say. We were hoping you'd let us stay with you, just for a few months until we get back on our feet. We have 2 kids now, Vera. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mind raced back to that day, coming home to find all my stuff packed in the hallway, the way Derek just stood there while Rebecca lied about me being inappropriate with him. And now they wanted to stay with me in my apartment. I let out a short laugh, more out of disbelief than anything. You've got to be kidding me, I said. I know how it sounds, Rebecca replied quickly, like she knew how ridiculous it was. But we've got 2 kids now. We don't have anywhere else to go. Please, we wouldn't ask if it wasn't an emergency. An emergency. So now I was supposed to forget everything and help them because they were in trouble. Where was that energy when I needed a place to stay? When Rebecca was throwing me out over lies and Derek just stood by and let it happen. Rebecca, I don't know what to tell you, I said, keeping my voice steady. You kicked me out when I needed help. Remember that? You and Derek didn't care then. Why should I care now? There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. And for a moment, I thought she might hang up. But then she spoke again, and this time her voice was softer, like she was finally starting to get it. I know, she said. I know we screwed up. I was wrong. Derek was wrong for not standing up for you. I should have never let that happen. I should have had your back. Hearing her admit that gave me a weird mix of satisfaction and anger. It was the apology I had been waiting for, but it also felt too late, like it didn't matter anymore. The damage was already done. I sat with the phone in my hand for days, thinking about it. After everything I'd been through, all the couch surfing, the nights wondering where I'd sleep next, all the tears and the rebuilding, they expected me to just forget it all. I finally called Rebecca back. Look, Rebecca, I thought about it a lot, I started, trying to keep calm. And I can't let you and Derek stay with me. After everything, I shot back, You mean after you kicked me out of your house with no warning based on lies you made up? You threw me out, Rebecca. I had nowhere to go. So yeah, I'm serious. Family sticking together only works when both sides actually give a damn about each other. And for a long time, it felt like I was the only one who cared. I had to protect the life I'd built. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt.